everyone. Let's get started with today's presentation, which is about a question LK has sent us. And it's a very good question. It's about the two verbs become and get, because they can get confused with each other very easily. The question is how to use become and get correctly. Let's have a look at what I have prepared for you. Right. The main thing we use these verbs for are when we want to show a change of state. So that's why very often after the verbs get and become, you have an adjective. And in this situation, you can use them interchangeably most of the time. So you can say he gets tired or he becomes tired easily. I got or I became angry last night. These stories are getting interesting, or these stories are getting or becoming interesting. Or I'm sure this road will get busier, or this road will become busier. So as you can see, you can use them for regular adjectives, tired, angry, interesting, and also for comparative adjectives like busier is the example we have here. So far, so good. But of course, with English, there are always exceptions and things to remember. The first thing that I need to mention to you here is there are some expressions, some adjectives that are only possible with get. For example, we cannot say become married. We have to say get married, or get dressed, or get fired, get caught. Now, if you look at these adjectives, married, dressed, fired, caught, you notice that they're all past participle adjectives. Just to remind you, a past participle adjectives comes from the past participle of the verb. So we have marry, married, married, or catch, caught, caught. This is the third part that becomes what we call a participle adjective. So with these adjectives, you should only use get. It's very strange to say like, I became married last year. Only get, right? Now, of course, there is always a little further exception, and I could find one with the word ready, although with the adjective ready, although it is not a participle adjective, don't say become ready. Always say get ready. Okay. So far, this is how we use get and become with adjectives. So really, if you think, oh, how am I going to remember or decide as I'm speaking, this is a participle adjective, this is not, or just use get, because it always works. So you can more or less drop become to show a change of state. Okay. Now, when do we use become and not get? That's the other side of the coin, and that is coming up in the next slide. That is when we follow with a noun. There's a noun involved in what we say after become. For example, a nurse. You can never say, I got a nurse 5 years ago. It's always I become, or I became in this case, a nurse 5 years ago. You see, it's a noun. There is no change of state. There is maybe a change of status, we can say. Or she has become a competent leader. Now here you notice that we have an adjective competent, but it's part of the noun phrase. A competent leader. Leader is the one that decides. You should use become. We can also have plural nouns, like these are becoming interesting stories. Again, we have the word stories, we have a noun. So it's not the adjective that works here. It's the noun. And the last example, again, we have here a comparative adjective like we had before, busier, but now it's talking about the road. We have a noun in the sentence. Again, get doesn't work. You have to say, I'm sure this will become a busier road. Okay, so far so good, I hope. And Of course, one last thing to mention is that the verb get also has a second very common meaning, which is to receive. And obviously, in that case, we do not use become. I can't say I became a message. So I got a message from Joe, and what did you get for your birthday? I know Elke has asked this question because for some Germanic language speakers, become is receive. If they translate directly, become means receive. For the rest of us, this doesn't pose a problem. And of course, the last thing I'd like to mention is that the verb get, as you know, is used in many, many phrasal verbs and expressions. For example, get on, get off a plane, or any public transport. A good expression, get off to a good start. We use that a lot. Another very common expression, get down to business or get over an illness. So you see the verb get in many, many different contexts. Become never creates a phrasal verb. So, and its usage is a lot less. If I recap, if you have a noun like become a nurse, become a mother, etc., that's where you can limit your usage to. And for change of state, just use get. I think that facilitates things. Okay, that's the end of the presentation. I hope you liked it and that there is some clarity now about the differences of usage between get and become.